Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. Yeah. Another Saturday here with Lady Pauline at Our World, Our Power show. We got a fantastic show today. Of course, I have my buddies next to me, Mr. Glenn Greenwich, my co-host, the Honorable Mayor of Sutton Boulevard, and Mr. Wayne Gilman, who is our analyst.
That's what I am.
Yes.
Last week I was something else. That's what I am
Some
today.
people say I could use an analyst.
Yeah, well, listen, as I said, I'd be more than happy to join you. I'm biased because the first time I met you, you told me you spent time on the island of Trinidad.
Well,
You know, so I'm a
You
little-
haven't introduced him.
Well, we'll
Yeah,
get
no, you
into
do.
that. Excuse me. You know, I'm retired now, and they only pay me Long Island Railroad fare. So, you know, here's the deal. It is an honor and a pleasure to have a gubernatorial candidate, a distinguished member of the United States Congress, and former mayor of Glen Cove, Long Island.
All
We
right.
have none other than Tom Suozzi in the studio, in the house.
And he lived in Trinidad and Tobago for 3
That's right,
months.
for 3
Okay.
months.
Tiny
you know?
whiny,
Oh, yeah.
wind your boom boom. Bring out the callaloo soup.
I am
Okay,
biased,
okay,
you know,
okay,
What can I say?
Oh, this is just wonderful. I'm so honored to have you here.
Thank you, Lady Pauline.
Yes.
Happy to be here.
Yeah,
You
I
too,
am.
Glenn.
Absolutely.
Who wants to start off?
Well, go ahead, Lady Pauline.
Yeah.
Okay, one of my first questions I'd like to ask you is, what are your qualifications that would make you a good governor?
Well, I lived in Trinidad and Tobago for 3 months.
And you know how to party, right?
So I always say I'm a proven executive. I am trained as a certified public accountant and an attorney. I was the mayor of my hometown, Glen Cove, for 8 years. I learned how to work government at a small level. Then I was the county executive of Nassau County. Nassau County's budget and population are bigger than 11 states in the United States of America. I used to say to Bill Clinton, I said, Mr. President, my budget in Nassau County was bigger than your budget was when you were governor of Arkansas. He said, I know. So, then I've been in Congress for the past 5.5 years. I know how to run government. I know how to get things done. Nassau County, when I got there, was rated the worst run county in America, and I turned it around. I ran the 12th largest police department in the United States of America, bigger than Boston or Detroit. And we had the lowest crime rate in the United States of America for any community over 500,000 people.
And that still exists today.
Yeah. So I know how to run government. I know how to get. I created a model program for health and human services where I took 8 departments: social services, health, mental health, veterans, seniors, youth, physically challenged, drug and alcohol. I put them in one building. I said, if somebody comes in for help, let's look at all their life and see what can we do to actually help them. Not just give them a check, but help them and help them solve the problems that they're facing at the time. And one of my big ideas for governor, in addition to dealing with crime and taxes, is how to bring all of our health and human services into our schools to help children. But I'll talk about that some more. I'm kind of talking too much. So,
No, that's fine.
so you said, how am I qualified? I know how to run government. I have experience. You know, when I was younger, I would have never said leadership matters. But you know what? Leadership matters.
After the last presidency we had here, not the incumbent.
Think about how dramatically different things came when Trump became the president. He just completely changed everything for the worst as far as the way people treat each other.
But speaking of him, if I might, I'd just
ahead,
like
go ahead,
to add to this. Why would you want to leave at this particular time as a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, a very powerful committee, to be the governor of New York? You know, and what right now we need Democrats as many seats in the House.
My seat will stay Democratic. They gerrymandered the seat to make it a Democratic seat. It's a great honor and a great responsibility to be in Congress. I'm good at it. I like it. I am on Ways and Means. It's a very sought-after committee.
Right.
I'm on, the Speaker appointed me to be a member of the Executive Commission on China, looking at human rights questions in China. I've got all kinds of great things that I'm working on. But I feel like, one, I'm sick of everybody fighting with each other all the time, and I want to try and change the debate in our country. I don't like that everything's just attacking. I'm about working together with people. Even if I disagree with you, I'll work with you if we can find a way to help people.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, our state is in a lot of trouble. We have the highest taxes in the United States of America. The crime rate is going up dramatically. People are scared
Right.
to go on the subway, scared to walk certain neighborhoods. I went to a vigil last night in Bed-Stuy. I feel so bad for these folks. The things they have to worry about on a regular basis. And number three, more people are left New York State in the last year than any other state in the United States of America. I guarantee you, every one of your listeners knows somebody that moved to Florida, moved to North Carolina, moved to South Carolina, moved to Georgia, moved to Texas, moved to Arizona. They left. They're going away.
You know, Tom, I agree with you 100% because I feel like leaving myself.
A lot of people.
But I feel like leaving for two reasons. The cost of living.
Absolutely.
The rent. I mean, it's
Rent's too damn high.
Yeah, exactly.
Where have we heard that?
You could- and of course, the crime that's on the subway. I mean, it's really scary. I live in this community. I live in Southeast Queens, and I have a front row seat to all the crime that's going on in this
Sad.
community.
Isn't it sad?
It's very sad, and the homelessness.
And it's just coming back over the past few years. I was telling you stories before about I lived in the city from 84 to 91. And I used to take the subway. One story I told you before, I used to take the subway into Bedford-Stuyvesant, to the Bedford-Stuyvesant Restoration Housing Project. That was a scary time in the 80s on the subway.
Yes.
On the subway.
Yeah.
Homeless on the streets. I'd volunteered when I was in law school to create a whole homeless thing. I used to sleep overnight at a homeless shelter and help to supervise it once in a while and made sandwiches for the soup kitchen, that kind of stuff. We thought that stuff was behind us in the 2000s, let's say. Now it's coming back like the bad old days.
Right.
And we have got to have leadership that says crime's a problem. I'm a Democrat, right? Everybody thinks Republicans talk about crime and taxes. I'm a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, will always be a Democrat.
So am I.
My people, the Democrats, care about crime and taxes too.
Right.
They've had it. They can't they can't afford anymore because the high taxes, the utility rates, the rent, everything going up and up and up. They can't take the crime.
And another thing, Tom, is we have a lot of buildings that has been built in this community right now, and they talk about low income housing or housing that's adjustable to your income, and it's really not so. We don't have like Section 8 buildings, wherein it's for really low income people. And so there's a lot of people that's going into these hotels now that are being built, and they're turning them into shelters.
Yeah.
We have the largest shelter system right here.
Section 8, which they call housing choice voucher now, I think,
Yeah.
is you pay 30% of your income towards your rent.
Correct.
So
And
if you're
that's
very
what's needed.
so if you got very, very low income, it's very, very low rent. If you got a little bit higher, it's a little bit higher.
Yes.
et cetera. It's a great program. It's a
It
good
is a
program.
great program.
There's not enough of it.
No.
And we also have to build this. When you talk about affordable housing, it's a very big sliding scale of people. Okay, you got people who are just completely busted flat, can't do anything. If they don't have Section 8, say you have like no income, pay 30% of your income, it's nothing. So,
Right.
Then you have public housing, which NYCHA has been run into the ground. Then you have affordable housing where you pay rent which is below market and maybe rent stabilized or something like that. And then you have people who are can pay a little bit more, but it still would be below market rate.
Right.
But it's not one size fits all. And you have to have a comprehensive plan for all of these different programs.
Yes.
And nothing we do these days is comprehensive. It's all like, a little piece here, make a speech. You have to get people who know how to run government, who've got a heart for the people, who can put together all the pieces to make it work. Look at the mental health issue, okay? We have 18.5 million people in New York State, 18.5 million people. Of the 18.5 million people in New York State, 1.5 million people have a serious mental health problem. Not like anxiety, but like
Serious mental health
schizophrenia,
issues. Yes.
bipolar, and severe depression. People got to take medication, okay? We deinstitutionalized all these people back in the 70s. Now, a lot of these folks are out on the streets. And they couldn't get into the hospitals during COVID, so they're out of the streets more than ever.
Right.
You
right.
know something, Tom? The next time you come back, as I said, I would love to take you around here.
I want to do that.
And you will see with your own two eyes, we have people that are in wheelchairs that are, have no pants on. They're just totally, their legs are busted open with sores
Oh,
and
my
everything.
gosh.
This
It's
is
sad.
real.
It's sad.
It is sad.
It's sad.
I have an image in my head that I can't get out of my head from a few years ago of a guy. It was in Manhattan, Union Square. He was homeless. It was obvious he was homeless. His clothes were dirty. He's muttering to himself. But you made me think of it when you just said that about their busted legs. This guy had a big sore on his leg, and it was pink, and I was like, what can I do to help this person? I can't do anything to help him. I mean, I can't. There's not enough programs in place to actually, and this idea that people can stay on the street if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy.
That's the word.
That is crazy.
Because we have got to make it so that judges, police, social workers, and family members can get people that are a danger to themselves and possibly others off the streets into facilities where they can get the help that they need. It can't be that they can say, I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
And that's what they say. They don't want to go.
Well, the other thing too that I'd like to get in here is the fact that we just recently, about a week ago, had this massive shooting on the subway in Brooklyn.
Yep.
And that person was a little deranged.
Yes.
That's part of the argument now. How do you get past that situation you said there were 1 million. Sometimes I look at the 18 million population. I think everybody is crazy.
Everybody except the four of us.
Well, speak for yourself. With all due respect, But the thing is at the end of the day, it's a colossal problem. How do institutionalizing these people? I don't know if that's the answer. Mario Cuomo, when he was governor,
They deinstitutionalize everybody.
right. So what do we do now?
So we've never had a plan put in place after. So let me back up a little bit. It goes back to your first question. Why am I qualified to do this job?
Yes.
To solve the crime problem, let's say, of which mental health is a piece of it, and some of it's nothing to do with crime, it's just straight mental health. But let's just say the crime problem, okay? The governor of New York State should bring in the mayor of New York City and the mayor of Rochester and the mayor of Buffalo and some other mayors, and bring the police commissioners and bring the corrections facility leadership, bring in the judiciary, bring in the district attorneys, bring in parole, bring in probation, bring in the mental health expert. I mean, literally, there's so many pieces that touch the issue of crime, including mental health.
Right.
The job of a leader, of a governor, of a $220 billion enterprise, bigger than any Fortune 500 company, is to take all these vast stakeholders and resources and bring them together in a structured way where you literally would have 100 people in the room. And you do presentations, and you have a debate and discuss. You bring in the leaders of the legislature, too, who are the ones holding back on a lot of this stuff right now, far lefties. And you bring everybody into the room, and you say, listen, we've got to recognize we got a hair on fire problem here. We got to we all have to pull together, and we have to figure out, because people are scared right now. And I know you are worried about systemic racism and too many black and brown people arrested. And I know you are worried about people that are scared of walking on the streets. And I know you are worried about police over abusing their authority. And I know you're worried about the police not getting enough support. And I know this and that and all these different voices. Right. But you got to have them all together in the room and say, listen, we're a team here. We got to look past our different viewpoints and figure out how do we develop a comprehensive plan that we can agree upon and then go sell it to the people and then get all of our resources we have. We got $220 billion every year. We got all these not-for-profit agencies. We got all these federal, state, local government agencies. We got all these experts. Let's work together and develop a plan to actually help the people so they feel safe, so we treat the mentally ill like human beings, so we get people off the streets that are suffering. Let's do it together. That's what a leader's supposed to do.
Do you think the mayor's doing enough, the new mayor?
I think the mayor is great. I supported the mayor very early on. He actually Eric Adams asked me to be his deputy mayor. I said, I'm not going to be your deputy mayor. I'm running for governor. I can do more to help you as governor than I can as deputy mayor if I become the governor. I don't think the state is helping him. I think the state is not helping the mayor. They're saying we need more data about crime. We bail reform. We want to test it out a little bit longer. The way it's going right now. Every other state in the United States of America, 49 other states, and the federal government let judges consider dangerousness when a defendant becomes before them. New York State's the only state that doesn't allow that. When we got rid of cash bail, which made sense to get rid of cash bail because you get two people, low-level offenses, $400 bail, $300 bail, they have the same crime alleged.
But the guy with
the guy with the money gets out. The guy with the no money languishes in jail, and they probably become more of a criminal in the future,
right?
Because of that. So I'm okay with getting rid of cash bail. But if a guy's committing crime after crime after crime after crime, he's got a violent history. People are scared about him. You can't let him back out on the streets.
No,
Exactly.
Lock him up and throw away the key, as they used to say years ago.
Well, you got to protect the people. I mean, that's the bottom line.
You're talking about having a vision for the state, and I haven't heard that anywhere. You're talking about bringing people together and bringing the resources that have the community at stake.
Greg, that's perfect what you just said. One of the things I talk about all the time is that when I was born in 1962, I'm the oldest one here, right?
I'm looking at my scalp.
So when I was born in 1962, we had 45 members of Congress from New York State. It's based upon your relative population to the rest of the country. There's 435 seats. Based upon your relative population, how many seats you get. We had 45 members of Congress from New York State in 1962. Today, we have 27 members of Congress, and it's going down to 26 with the new census because we're losing the people. Like you said, Lady Pauline, people are leaving. You're thinking about leaving. Don't you leave. But we have to have a vision.
Yes.
That says, how can we bring people back to New York? Not even just New York City or the suburbs, but upstate New York. If you cut off north of Putnam and Rockland County in New York State and made it a separate state, it'd be the poorest state in the United States of America. Because they've got the high taxes, they've got all the regulation, they got all the rules that comes out of the state legislature, but they can't take it. They don't have New York City, the economic engine of the world.
Right.
They can't feed off of the mothership down here. If you don't have a college or a jail or a hospital or a tourism destination, you're dead. Can't make it.
True.
So we have to have a vision for how to make New York State the place that people want to be. We got the brains. We got the beautiful. This is an awesome place to live, except for the taxes and now the crime.
Right.
And the rent.
And the rent, the affordability.
Yes.
Well,
Now, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, of course, my affinity to economic development and businesses. So I know you talked about taxes. Where inside of the taxes are you looking to support small businesses?
we have to reduce the taxes. We have to reduce people's income taxes. I'm all for increasing income taxes at the federal level, okay? At the federal level, tax the hell out of everybody, okay? Because everywhere you go in the country, you have to pay the same thing.
Right.
Right now, people leave New York and they go to places where the taxes are lower. That's just what people do on a regular basis. They go where the rent is lower. They go where the utilities are lower. We have to make it more affordable here. With small businesses, when I was a county executive in Nassau County, I left Nassau County and I went into the private sector for a few years, not by any choice. I lost a race. That guy has since been convicted of bribery and corruption. So the rule is,
right.
The rule is you can run against me, but if you beat me, your life is over after that. So you don't want to beat me.
You know something, Tom? Speaking of just on that, it's not just the affordable housing, but I'm thinking about relocating to Atlanta. I love it down there. You get 3-4 bedrooms, 3 baths for $1,500 with a swimming pool, a gymnasium. I mean, the beautiful landscaping. Do you understand?
Don't you like it better on Suffolk Avenue when you can walk down the street and see the guy in the wheelchair and his legs are busted up?
Yeah.
It
keeps it real, but no.
So I'm saying,
No.
we got to figure out how to. You're not alone. You're not by yourself in thinking that way. A lot of people are thinking that way. And unless we get our act together, unless we start treating this like it's a real problem, one, the Republicans could win in New York State, and the guy who's likely to win is a big Trump supporter, which would be just like devastating. Or the sitting governor is going to win, And we're going to continue to just kind of like float along doing the same old thing where she gives $1 billion to the Buffalo Bills stadium, but she doesn't do anything to help Sutphen Boulevard.
No.
Or you get a guy like me and say, listen, we got to deal with crime, taxes. We're going to help the kids in our schools that have been left behind all these generations. So
She's in an awkward situation because she's more upstate or familiar with upstate as opposed to the downstate. And I wanted to get your opinion about, basically, how do you differ from her in many ways?
night and day, because I'm a proven executive. I know how to run government. She's never really run a big enterprise before. Number two, I'm a common sense Democrat. I'm not going to pander to the left. I'm not going to back down to the right. I'll work with everybody. She used to be on the right. When she was in Congress for less than 2 years, she got endorsed by the NRA. That, if you can imagine that.
I remember that.
She said she wants to send all the undocumented to ICE, to the immigration people.
Mm-hmm.
She had a 50% rating on the League of Conservation Voters. So she was playing to the right because she was living in an upstate community. She was playing to the right. Now she's going to the left. Her lieutenant governor, the guy who just got in trouble, was a defund the police guy. Mm-hmm. She endorsed a socialist candidate in Queens. She's got a socialist guy in her government cabinet that is in charge of intergovernmental affairs. So what do you believe in, the right or the crazy left? I mean, which one is it?
And that's the problem with politics, because there are a lot of people who feel that everyone panders to whoever they think they can get support.
One thing you'll never get from me is I will never pander. Mm-hmm. I mean, I may say things you like, I may say things that drive you crazy, but I will not pander. I believe in certain. I'll work with anybody. I'll work with people I disagree with, like I said before. But I'm not going to just say something to make you happy. I'm going to do what I think is right or wrong. I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to not do what's wrong. I should make that very clear. But I am who I am. I'm just I've been doing this I got a record. I've been doing this for almost 30 years.
Right.
I am who I am, and I know who I am, and that's who I'm going to be.
And this particular race, because I know you ran against Spitzer 1,000 years ago, or close to that.
Look what happened to him. You see the same rule.
I know, it's amazing.
You run against me, you beat me, your life's over after that.
I was getting scared now. I'm sitting next to you. But
don't worry about it. We're on the same team.
But the one thing I wanted to find out about, I know I have to. My side hustle is real estate. I know you've done a lot to try to undo that SALT tax.
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen there?
So the SALT tax, so you know, SALT stands for state and local tax deduction. Since the beginning of the federal income tax code, people could deduct their property taxes and their income taxes from the state, from their federal taxes, so you wouldn't pay taxes on the taxes you already paid. It used to be you could deduct unlimited amounts. When Trump came into office in 2017 with the Republicans in the Senate and the Congress, they said we're going to cap it at $10,000. He knew it would hurt New York, it would hurt California, it would hurt New Jersey, it would hurt Illinois, it would hurt other Democratic states. He said they're not going to vote for me anyway. I can get a big savings for the federal government, and I can give it away to the rich guys in corporate tax cuts and rich guy tax cuts. So I've been fighting to get it back. Big fight. Republicans wouldn't support it. The far left wouldn't support it. I got it passed through the House where you could deduct, instead of $10,000, you could deduct up to $80,000. That covers 97% of New Yorkers. When it went to the Senate, they killed the overall bill, the Build Back Better bill, and it was in there. So we didn't get it. One of the reasons I'm running is because I don't think we're ever going to get it all the way back. And I think that we have to recognize that we're losing these people because they can't pay the taxes anymore. So we have to figure out how to reduce the taxes.
Any thoughts?
Yeah.
An alternate? I mean, because as you said, people are leaving.
New York State, nobody knows this stuff. The two biggest expenditures in the New York State budget are Medicaid is number one. We spend 2.5 times the cost of the national average. More than Texas and Florida combined. Texas and Florida are both bigger than New York.
Right.
We spend more in New York on Medicaid than Texas and New York combined. And there's reasons for that related to waste, fraud, and abuse is the biggest one. Second, we spend more per student than any state in the United States of America. But our results aren't better than every state in the United States of America because it's poorly run. So one of the biggest things I'm most passionate about is, okay, I'm talking this much?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
One of the things I'm most passionate about is helping our kids in schools, okay? It's not about spending more money. We already spend more per student than any state in the United States of America. If you look at third grade test scores of the best school district and the most at-risk school district, they're not that far apart in their test scores. But by 8th grade, the kids in the good school district are skyrocketing. The kids in the at-risk school district have fallen off the face of the earth. We have to take all of our health and human service programs and bring them into our schools so that we can help kids who are having a problem at a young age before they become bigger problems later on in life. Desmond Tutu used to be the bishop from South Africa. Right. Eric Adams uses this quote all the time too. He said, we spend a lifetime pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and stop people from falling in the river in the first place.
Good.
Everybody says it's better to educate a child instead of paying for a jail cell later on. How come it doesn't happen?
That's the problem.
Because you don't. A lot of politicians don't know how to run this big, giant government. They don't have the experience to run this big, sprawling, $220 billion enterprise.
But Tom, from my understanding, I'm also a social worker. From my understanding, it's always better to have more prisons. I mean, yes, because people do get work from it. So I believe over the past 20 years, this is what's been going on. Instead of solving the problems, let's lock people up. Because there's other alternatives.
And we know that, and we know that's not the answer.
I know.
And so we need the social workers that are out there. We got social workers galore. Unfortunately, a lot of social workers are assigned to work to help adults when they got a big problem and they come in for help the window.
They don't.
To get like a check or food stamps or when it's too late. We need to bring that expertise into the children in the schools so that when a kid has the kids have to come to public school, right? Yes. They're a captive audience. You got them there. You can talk to them. You can find out what's going on. And you could probably find out what's going on with the parents at home behind that through the child.
Right.
So we got to bring these services in.
Together.
Bring them in. Right now we got a separate world over here is education. A separate world over here is health and human services. And a separate world over here is law enforcement. They're all related.
Yeah, we've got silos instead of working together again.
75% of the people in jail have a drug, alcohol, and mental health problem. 50% of the people at Rikers Island have a learning disability.
Yes.
Let's address these problems at a young age instead of waiting until people's lives are ruined because they didn't make it through school and there was nobody there to help them.
Right. I agree with that 100%. What would you do in the next 100 days if you become the next governor?
First 100 days would be that what I talked about, bringing all the people together on crime. I would actually do that before I became governor. As soon as I got elected, that intervening 2 months, I bring all the experts together. Say, listen, we got to work as a team to figure out how to solve this problem because it can't go on like this. Then I'd work on another team to talk about economic development, how to bring people back to business. I didn't get to answer your question before, Glenn. When I was out of the government, I went into the private sector again, in between county executive and Congress. My wife and I took over a restaurant. Oldest Italian restaurant on Long Island. I lost my shirt, okay? Didn't know what I was doing. But I encountered all the regulation that you have to deal with as a small business.
Yes.
And it's literally paperwork. You can't even do it on the computer.
No.
You got to fill out all these forms. It's the same information for this place as for that place. It's all these overlapping jurisdictions. People always trying to catch you doing something wrong or give you a fine or something like that. We have to streamline all that stuff. I think that if I was the governor and Eric Adams was the mayor, we could have like a good bromance, that we actually get along with each other. We believe in the same stuff. We could get so much done with crime, with small business, with helping kids in schools, with building affordable housing, with dealing with mental health, all the things that people are talking about, real life stuff. They don't want to hear about all this esoteric stuff that's out here. They want to hear about the simple bread and butter stuff.
Yes.
Crime, taxes, affordability, housing, kids in school. Simple, straightforward, not theoretical gobbledygook.
I have a couple of hardball questions. We talked earlier about the situation with China involving the Caribbean. Like China seems to own the Caribbean now. As a member of Congress, I mean, what are your concerns in terms about that government being so close in its proximity to the United States and what's going on there?
We have got to be really worried about China. China has a plan. They know what they are doing, and they are planning how they can be economically, technologically, militarily, air, land, space, dominant. They want to rule the world. That's their plan. They are spending enormous amounts of money trying to get involved in the Caribbean, in Africa, in South America. They have the Belt and Road Initiative, it's called. They have other initiatives, and they treat their own people awful. I'm the chairman of what's called the Uyghur Caucus. Have you heard of the Uyghurs?
No.
The Uyghurs are these Muslim people in China that there are literally 1.5 million people in forced labor camps.
Oh, yes. Yes, I did
Forced
hear that.
labor
Yeah.
camps. In today's day and age, forced labor camps. And we passed a law that says any product, you can't sell any product from this particular region of China called the Xinjiang region because it's presumed to be made with forced labor. We don't have to prove it. You can rebut the presumption that it wasn't made with forced labor, but we're presuming it's made with forced labor from that region. It's one of the biggest cotton producers in the world. That's where a lot of textiles come from for shirts and clothes, and we've gotten so cheaply over the past decade or 2 decades. Could be being made with forced labor. So we have got to recognize that China, so that they have a plan. What we've got working for us is that we've got democracy, we have the rule of law, we have innovation, we have capitalism, we have these things that give us creativity. They're trying to do everything where the bosses say you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way. You tell us we're not doing it the way you don't like it. That's too damn bad. So we'll ultimately win, but we've got to stop fighting amongst ourselves in America and start making a plan, like you said before, Glenn, a vision for how are we going to be successful? How can we all work together, despite our differences, work together to get to the finish line together? So I'm in public life. I grew up, my father was born in Italy. My grandparents on his side came from Italy. I had a grandmother came from England. I had an Irish grandfather who put the lights on top of the Empire State Building, local 3 electrician. They all lived through the Depression. My father fought in World War II. I saw a picture of my father campaigning with John F. Kennedy in the 1960s. My mom and dad were very involved in the 60s, civil rights and all the stuff going on in the 60s that changed the world. And growing up, I said to myself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do to try and live up to their example? And so I've tried to, as mayor, as county executive, as member of Congress, to do that. But I feel like right now, we're in trouble. And we got to get together as a team, everybody together, and say, what do we have to do to make it so people can have a decent life? What can we got so much going for us. We've produced this enormous wealth. The problem is it hasn't been shared with the people who go to work every day. It's been all up here and not with the people who go to work every day. We have this great technology. The problem, it's again just money driven as opposed to figuring out how to make people's lives better. We got people trying to manipulate us all the time, not only for profit, but our foreign adversaries trying to sow messages of civil unrest in our country, including China and Russia. This is an important time when we need to come together and address the real things in life that people face. And so I'm risking it all. I could stay in Congress for 20 years if I wanted to. I'd keep on getting reelected.
Is that a problem? Term limits? I mean, would you?
I'm not for term limits because you know what? I'm a lot smarter today than I was when I first got to Congress. I know how to do things better. I think you can get better at it. The problem is not term limits. The problem is all these seats are safe seats. You can't lose because they're gerrymandered. They pack all the Republicans over here. They pack all the Democrats over there. There's 190 safe Republican seats, 190 safe Democratic seats, and there's like 55 competitive seats, okay? How can it be that Congress is a 15% approval rating, but 90% of them get reelected, okay? The fix is in because they're gerrymandered and you have all the benefits of the incumbency. When you can't lose, you don't listen to the people.
Right.
The only way you can lose one of these seats is by losing a primary. Nobody votes in the primaries. Who votes in the primaries? The far right votes in the Republican primary, and the far left votes in the Democratic primary. So all the politicians pander to the extremes. That's why you don't get anything in the middle, because if you do the stuff in the middle, you'll get beaten up. Say, what are you working with the Republicans for? What are you trying to make a deal with them for? You're not a real Democrat. You're not a real Republican. And that's pulling everybody apart. Then social media, same thing. The most popular people on social media, extreme right, extreme left.
Exactly.
Cable news, Tucker Carlson, Rachel Maddow, they're like 2 different alternative universes. There's 330 million people in America. Only 4 million people watch Tucker Carlson. 3 million people watch Rachel Maddow. But that's controlling the debate. And then our foreign adversaries, the Russians and the Chinese, they're trying to sow messages of hate each other because they want us to fail.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this because I really, really feel like I've figured out what's wrong and what we need to do to make it right.
Well, you should run for president at this point. You know.
I love that song.
But do you see the United States at war with Russia? I mean, with regard to what's going on in Ukraine.
We can't
right
go to
now?
war. The people are burnt out. We've spent so much money on Afghanistan. You know, people are just burnt out. And I think that there's going to be a Biden doctrine where he's gotten the West to all stick together on these financial sanctions against Russia. If the West can really crush Russia financially and not go to war,
That's the best.
It'll be the first time it ever worked because they're all working together. Like Germany and the European countries are talking about cutting off, buying oil from Russia. If they do that, it would be like humongous because they're such an oil-driven economy. Mm-hmm. So if we can get the United States, the European countries, Australia, Japan, South Korea, India, Israel, and the other democratic countries to all stick together, that will be the first time ever that we all held together against them.
Now, I know we're about to wrap up, but I wanted to ask you one. Cannabis is a big thing.
Yeah.
What's your position on cannabis?
Listen, I'll go along with it. I mean, I would have probably been against legalizing it because I've seen a lot of people suffer because of it. But I don't like the idea of people getting locked up for possession. There's too many people got locked up for possession. It doesn't make any sense. But I'll go along with it. I voted on it in Congress. I voted yes to legalize it. I just think we have to be very careful that it doesn't become a gateway for everybody else to use harder drugs. But there's medicinal benefits from cannabis.
Yes.
It's not like it's probably better for you than drinking, and alcohol is legal.
Right. Exactly.
So we just got to make sure it doesn't become a whole big pull down of a whole society. But the whole locking up of young people for smoking pot, especially black and brown people, that's totally unfair, and that's got to be fixed, and it's being fixed. And it's going to be legalized. It's all going to happen. So I'm okay with it. I would have listened. I was around it a lot growing up, okay, and I saw what happened to some people, and other people were fine.
Yeah.
I'm worried about when it becomes so prevalent and everybody's smoking pot. Who's going to get taken down because of it? So we just got to be careful. Make sure it's regulated properly. Make sure we're looking out for people that don't become drug addicts.
Did you inhale?
Oh, yeah. I was living in Trinidad and Tobago for 3 months.
What kind of Sunni Trinidadian are you? Anyway, but I wish you were here for our last guest because she had a completely different perspective on what was going on in Ukraine and Russia and its involving the United States and all that. Her twist is that we're starting. The United States is largely involved. And I guess it's unfair to even bring our previous guest up without her defending herself.
Right.
Because she's running against Chuck Schumer in the senatorial race here in New York. And she's an independent Lyndon LaRouche disciple.
Yikes.
So
let me say this very, very important thing. People are fighting and dying in the Ukraine for freedom and democracy. What is freedom and democracy? It's politics. We've sent people to war throughout our nation's history for freedom and democracy, for politics.
Yeah.
We've become a point where everybody's like, I hate politics. I'm sick of politics. I don't want anything to do with politics. It all stinks. It's all no good. And we've handed over the conversation to the extremes. When we do that, we end up with the highest taxes in America, rising crime, unaffordable rent, unaffordable utilities, people leaving the state. If we get the people involved, we can fix the problems. Because when you have to listen to the people, you got to listen to what the people want. And I'm telling you, I know from talking to people and from doing polling, people are concerned about crime, affordability, and kids in schools.
That's true.
That's what people care about.
yeah.
You know something, Tom? I love what you stand for.
Thank you, lady.
I really do. I'm looking forward for you to come back out here and for us to introduce you to our community and for you to have a very good visual idea of what's going on over here in Southeast Queens.
Let people know how they can
Me too.
contribute to your campaign.
Suozzi for New York. Suozzi for New York. Suozzi is Suozzi. My father used to have a campaign song. Suozzi, Suozzi. A Democratic guy.
And that's interesting. But I guess at this point you're doing phenomenally well. Every time I turn the TV on,
I see
I
you.
see the spots.
Listen, I feel good about this race, but I need the people. I
Right,
need the
right.
people to come along with me.
When's the primary?
June 28th.
Okay, so
And-
they need to come out for June 28th
June
for the
28th,
primary.
and sign up and help on the campaign. Be part. Don't underestimate how powerful you can be as a person to impact this race, because so few people vote in these races, and it's all controlled by the insiders. All the money is raised from the people that do business with the state, people that want a cannabis license, people that have a nursing home, the developers. That's why the state's so broken.
Yeah.
We need the people to rise up and say, we want our state back. Do something about affordability. Do something about crime. Do something about our kids that are getting left behind. Help us address these real life problems. We're sick of the corruption.
Give us that date again.
June 28th, Democratic primary. Tom Suozzi for governor. Common sense Democrat.
All
No
right.
BS.
No BS.
No BS. All right.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you
Thank you so
for being
much.
on Our World, Our World Power show.
I really enjoyed this hour of power.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate having you, and we're looking forward for you coming back.
Thank you so much. I'll be back.
Okay.
Great. Honor and pleasure seeing you again.
Thank you, my friend.
And good luck to you.
Let me know we get together and have some roti
Of
together.
course.
Okay.
Right now after
Gee,
the
wait a minute,
show,
you can't
man.
leave me out of that.
After the show.